Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the candlelit halls and muddy streets of the medieval world, where beauty wasn't just a privilege, it was a brutal expectation. You're not lounging in a royal garden, admired for your natural charm. No, you're tugging at a corset so tight you can't breathe, smearing lead on your face in hopes it hides your freckles, and hoping to God your hairline recedes. Because in this strange era, a high forehead is apparently the height of sex appeal. Your chamber smells faintly of rosewater sweat and something metallic. Maybe that's the lead paste drying on your cheeks. You sit near the tiny window, squinting into a piece of polished metal that passes for a mirror. Your hand trembles slightly as you use a tiny blade to scrape away the edge of your eyebrow. Don't flinch, you need to make your brow line disappear. The fashion is clear, bald above the eyes is beautiful. Who cares if it stings? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And I'd love to know where you're watching from tonight, and what time is it there, post it below. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You adjust your posture to avoid smudging the chalky powder on your collarbone. It's a pale dust your maid patted on carefully, meant to make you look more fragile, delicate, dying even. In the medieval mind, a woman with bloodless skin is ethereal, not sickly, not weak, ethereal, like a saint in a stained glass window. If your cheeks dare to glow with life, you might as well be a barmaid. The door creaks open behind you, and the maid enters with a pot of warm liquid. It smells like herbs and vinegar. She applies it to your hands, lemon and ashes to bleach the skin, to lift the tan that tells too much truth. That you walk outside, that you work, that you're human. You wince not from pain, but from the knowledge that this sting will become your ritual. Every few days you'll boil your fingertips in herbs, hoping your knuckles whiten. If they don't, people will whisper that you aren't noble enough, that you were born of women who toiled in the fields, that your blood runs thick with effort. But you weren't. Not really. You were born of a knight's third wife, bred to be passed off as beautiful enough for someone's second son. And in this world, beauty is your only currency. You feel it, don't you? The unrelenting weight of being ornamental, like a goblet, shiny, admired, and hollow. Your corset creaks when you breathe. You can't sit comfortably, but you don't dare loosen it. A tiny waist is a moral trait, they say. Discipline made visible. A wide waist hints at laziness or worse fertility, which would be fine if it didn't also hint at lust. You learn quickly here that beauty is the battleground of contradictions. Be desirable but untouched. Be fragile but fertile. Be admired but never proud. The mirror shows you your eyes still slightly bloodshot from last night's vinegar rinse. You tried to enhance their brightness. The pamphlet said it would make your gaze more striking. You didn't expect the sting to linger this long. Outside, the bell tolls 7. Evening. The time of gossip. You imagine the ladies gathering in the drawing room, pinching each other's cheeks to bring out the pink, biting their lips to redden them before the candlelight catches their faces. Rouge is frowned upon in church, but everyone does it. Just enough to look like you've just been kissed by a breeze. Any more than that, and you're a woman of ill repute. But without it, you look like a corpse. You hate this game, but you play it, because there is no alternative. You think about the tapestry on the wall, women with hair like golden rope and cheeks like soft rose petals. They never had to scrub their skin raw to look that way. You wonder how much pain they endured. or if the artist just imagined them perfect, passive, polished. Silent. You are not silent. In the bath last night, you whispered to your reflection, asked it if this was all you'd ever be. A face, a body, a bride. The reflection didn't answer. But you noticed how the candlelight distorted your features. For a moment you saw your mother in the wavering glow, and you remembered her voice, "Beauty is a debt we pay every day, and the interest never stops." Your mother's hairline had crept back unnaturally. She plucked it herself, strand by strand, until her forehead reached a size deemed acceptable. You used to think she looked startled all the time. Now you realize that was just the fashion. And now it's your turn. Tonight, you'll join the others, your skin powdered your hairline, plucked your dress tight enough to bruise your ribs. You'll smile modestly, hands folded. You'll laugh at the Count's jokes and glance demurely at his nephew. And you'll hope silently that your beauty holds up just long enough to secure your fate. Not because you want it, but because you've been trained to need it. One wrong freckle, and the alliance falls apart. One visible sweat bead, and the Countess sneers. You're a whisper away from failure at all times. You walk the tightrope of appearance with no net beneath you. No one speaks of the girls who fall, but you hear about them. The cousin sent to a convent. The noble's daughter who developed pox scars and was suddenly unmarriageable. The merchant's wife whose teeth blackened from the sugar she couldn't resist. She was charming once. Now she's invisible. You rub your gums gently with salt before bed. It stings, but better that than rot. You dream sometimes of running away, living in a village where beauty means being strong enough to carry buckets, or clever enough to barter eggs. But even in your dreams, you still reach for the powder before leaving the house. The habit runs that deep. Your maid fastens the back of your dress. She tucks in a sprig of rosemary, good for memory. You hope it helps you remember who you are beneath the paint and fabric. You hope one day someone sees past it all. But tonight, you are beauty. Not a person, just a polished thing. And in the medieval world, that's all that's required of you. You straighten your posture, inhale, and walk toward the corridor where eyes are waiting, where judgment always waits. And so you descend the stairs, one careful step at a time. The air in the great hall carries a familiar pressure. Not just the expectation of grace, but the unspoken contest pulsing between every woman seated along the walls. You pass them slowly, your chin lifted the exact amount to appear confident, but not arrogant. You've practiced this posture in front of a wall-hung mirror so many times, your muscles ache from the effort of seeming effortless. Their eyes scan you from forehead to toe, noting everything. The paleness of your skin, the line of your shoulders, whether your shoes make your ankles look slim or sturdy. That's the thing no one ever says. Outright beauty in this world is about what can be made small. Foreheads made larger, everything else made smaller. Waist, wrists, hands, chin. A jawline too square marks you as masculine. Fingers too thick, and they'll whisper you churned butter once. You take your seat beside the Lady Isolde. She smells faintly of lavender and warm wax. Her sleeves are so tight, they must have been sewn on while she held her breath. Her hair is pulled so harshly, it lifts her eyebrows permanently, giving her a look of faint surprise, eternally agreeable whether she means it or not. She turns to you with a smile that never reaches her eyes. You look better than last week, she says. It's both compliment and accusation. You thank her anyway. You always thank them. The minstrel begins to play. a gentle, lilting tune that's meant to soothe, but the real performance is happening in silence all around you. Subtle glances, perfectly timed gestures, bites taken with precision. Don't eat too fast or you're gluttonous. Too slow and you seem to be pretending. Your beauty is measured even in the way your fingers lift a spoon. The candlelight softens every imperfection, which is both a blessing and a lie. You know what your skin looks like in daylight. You've counted the blemishes on your arms like tally marks, each one a reminder of a time you scratched too hard or touched your face before washing. You hide them now under lace cuffs stitched just long enough to graze the knuckles. You wonder if anyone else hides like you do. Lady Isolde takes a grape and chews it with the delicacy of a swan. They say Lady Agnes is using goose fat now, she murmurs to you, on her cheeks. You blink, goose fat. She nods, her voice a whisper, for that extra glow, the shine of vitality you see. She doesn't mention how it clogs the pores, or how Lady Agnes fainted at Mass last week from the smell. The pressure to glow with life while looking Shahfa dead. It's an art, really. You glance down the table to Lady Agnes herself. Her face does shine, not with beauty, but with effort. Layers of powder, then fat, then powder again, and beneath it, sweat. Trapped like a prayer in a closed chapel. You don't judge her, how could you? You've tried worse. The past month alone, you've gargled salt and nettle tea to make your voice sound breathier, more feminine. You've plucked the baby hairs from your temples until your scalp burned. You've dabbed crushed lily petals onto your eyelids, hoping the pollen would bring a flush of color without irritation. It didn't. You spent the evening blinking away tears and laughing as if nothing was wrong. That's what you always do. Lady Isolde leans closer. Do you know about the bone file? You pause. The what? The file they use on their noses. Just the tiniest scrape every few days. It's meant to smooth the bump. Lady Margot uses it. She's convinced her profile looks more Grecian now. You don't know whether to be horrified or intrigued. Maybe both. You touch your own nose wondering. Could you do that? Could you scrape away a bump like it's just a flaw on parchment? But of course you could. That's the danger. You've already proved it, haven't you? You once burned a patch of your thigh with vinegar because a pamphlet said it would kill leg hair forever. You limped for a week, but the hair didn't grow back. It worked. You press your hands into your lap, fingers folded. Your nails are tinted slightly pink from beetroot. Fake health. That's the goal. The body must never remind others of what it actually does. Sweat. Bleed. Digest. No. A beautiful woman glides, breathes softly, glows faintly. Anything more and you cross the line into vulgarity. They used to say beauty was next to godliness. But in this world, beauty is godliness. And you're expected to worship it daily. A serving girl passes with a jug of wine. You catch her eyes for a moment. They flicker to your dress, your powdered cheeks. You see something there, maybe longing, maybe pity, or maybe she's wondering how long you'll last. You don't blame her. You wonder the same. The music shifts. A waltz. A subtle suggestion that dancing is to begin. You rise with the others, moving in practiced unison. Your feet barely graze the floor as you follow the steps drilled into you since girlhood. Turn, smile, tilt your chin. Don't let your shoulders sag. Don't blink too much. Blink too little, and you look soulless. Blink too much, and you look unsure. You partner with a young nobleman whose name you barely remember. His breath smells faintly of cloves. He makes a comment about your earrings. You smile even though they itch. You don't tell him you wore them because they elongate your neck, and a long neck implies good breeding. You just nod, look down shyly. That's the game. Always seem grateful, always seem effortless. The song ends. You curtsy. He bows. You move on. It never stops. Later that night, in the privacy of your chamber, you let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. The candles are snuffed except one. Your maid undoes the laces at your back, and your body sags forward with relief. You sit before the mirror again. The powder clings to your pores. Your lips are raw from the wine and the forced smiles. You reach for the cloth and begin to wipe your face. With every stroke, a version of yourself vanishes. The one who was acceptable, admired, decorated. What's left is the girl beneath it. Tired, uneven, real. You study her. She's quiet but not weak. You see in her the truth no one else ever will. That beauty in this world isn't something you have. It's something you perform, endlessly. And the performance costs everything, even the parts of you that no one sees, but especially those. You wake before dawn, not because you want to, but because beauty demands an early start. The hearth has gone cold overnight, and the stone floor is unwelcoming beneath your feet. You shiver, pulling your shawl tighter, already thinking of the routine ahead. You'll need to steep the herbs, warm the tallow, and apply the ash paste just so. Your maid will come shortly to help, but for now you begin alone because this part is yours, the secret hour where you transform into someone worth presenting. The mirror, still slightly fogged from your breath, reflects a truth you're not supposed to acknowledge. Puffy eyes, pale lips, skin that isn't porcelain, but pink around the nose and chin. You splash your face with rose water and lemon again, suppressing a hiss as the cold bites your cheeks. The sting wakes you more than the chill. You start with your hair. It takes time to shape it into something that looks effortlessly elegant. First, you tug it back tightly, securing it under a coif. Then you place the crespine, a jeweled net that cradles the back of your skull and forces your face to look longer, more statuesque. A round face is childish. A strong jaw is dangerous. But an oval is saintly. You recall how the church once proclaimed that the Virgin Mary had an oval face, so, of course, everyone now chases that shape, as if holiness and cheekbones were the same thing. The irony is not lost on you. Outside your window, the sky lightens. Pale gray leaks into the clouds like watered-down ink. The bells haven't rung yet, but the castle stirs. You hear the clatter of buckets and the murmurs of servants, the quiet cough of someone carrying firewood. You return to your regimen. The powdered chalk, the trace of crushed elderberries for color, the wax on your lashes. 1,000 tiny steps to construct a face that isn't entirely yours. But it has to be, because what else is there? Your maid arrives and helps lace you into your bodice. She's gentle today, not pulling so tightly. Maybe she noticed the bruise along your ribs yesterday. Maybe she remembers being your age. Or maybe she's just tired too. Will you wear the sapphire veil, she asks. You nod. It brings out the color in your eyes. Not that you chose them, but you've learned to dress like you did. Downstairs, the hall begins to hum with activity. The steward calls orders. The cook yells something about flour. And the men begin their own routines, less painful, less precise. They are judged by strength, by presence, by coin, not by cheekbones or how delicately they sip from a goblet. You envy them. Then you remind yourself not to. Envy is unbecoming. So is bitterness. So is hunger. You steel yourself and descend the stairs. Breakfast is served in quiet civility. Platters of bread and preserved fruits. Goat cheese thick with salt. You take only a sliver. Women who eat too much are suspect. Women who eat too little are praised at first until they faint, and then they're shamed. It's a game of balance, like walking a beam slick with oil. Across the table, Lady Eleanor is speaking of her cousin's wedding. They say the bride's dress was embroidered with strands of her own hair, she says with a pleased smile, as if it's an achievement. Gold-tinted, of course, braided into roses. The others gasp appropriately. You nod too, even though the thought makes you uncomfortable. It's strange how often parts of your body are made to serve beauty detached from function. Hair, skin, even blood sometimes used in treatments mixed with wine or milk, as if your own biology must be harvested to prove your worth. Lady Eleanor turns to you. You haven't married yet, have you? The question isn't innocent. It's a probe. A warning wrapped in a smile. You shake your head, keeping your expression soft. Not yet. But there are discussions. She lifts her brows. Ah, I hope he has good taste. You smile, but inside you wonder what that means. Good taste in your world isn't about kindness or character. It's about matching fabric to skin tone, knowing which flowers don't clash with one's gown. Good taste is knowing how to spot a girl who hides her freckles well. The conversation drifts, and you drift with it. You think of the peasant girls outside the walls, their hands chapped from the cold, their hair covered with plain scarves. They aren't beautiful, not by court standards, but you've seen them laugh in the fields, loud and unbothered. You envy that. Their joy isn't performed. Their freedom isn't shaped by corsets or combs. But they envy you too, don't they? Your silks, your perfume, your place at this long wooden table where every seat is a rung on the ladder to power. The hall quiets slightly as the Lord enters. He nods at the room, eyes sweeping across it. His gaze lingers on Lady Isolde, then on you. You keep your face calm, your chin slightly lowered. Later, you'll hear whispers about where his gaze stopped, about whose ribbon fluttered most charmingly, about who laughed at the right moment. These are the politics of beauty. The war waged in gestures and glances. You leave the table with careful steps, your slippers whispering across the stone. You walk through the corridor where the portraits hang. Women from centuries past painted in poses of impossible grace. Their eyes follow you. Their lips hint at secrets. Their necks impossibly long, their waists absurdly narrow. You wonder how much was real, how much the artist altered to please the subject or her husband. You stop before one painting in particular, a woman in crimson, her hairline high, her brows erased, her lips painted into a ghost of a smile. She looks nothing like you, and yet you are becoming her, not by birth or blood, but by slow transformation. Every scraped brow, every tightened lace, every smile you swallow builds her in your mirror. You feel it, don't you? The distance between who you are and what you're sculpted to be. You wonder what would happen if you stopped, if you let your hairline grow forward, if you laughed with food in your teeth, if you wore your freckles like medals and left your lips bare. Would they see you? Would you still be beautiful? You don't know, but you doubt it. So you keep walking, because in this world the performance doesn't end, even when the curtain falls. You wander through the garden now, away from the eyes, the whispers, the walls. But even here, beauty follows you. It clings to the hem of your dress like thorns. You walk past rose bushes trimmed into perfect shapes, each petal carefully pruned. There's something comforting and suffocating about it, how even nature is sculpted to match expectation. The gravel crunches under your slippers as you reach the fountain. It gurgles quietly, the water reflecting your face in gentle ripples. You stare down at your reflection, almost not recognizing the woman who looks back. The powder, the paint, the carefully curled wisps of hair. None of it belongs to you, and yet it all does. You lean closer. What would you look like if you stopped? If you let your lashes fall, bare? Your cheeks go pink with sun, your teeth go unpolished for a single day. Would the reflection vanish? Would anyone still want the version of you that didn't hurt to maintain? You're startled by a voice. A young servant girl, maybe 14, peeks from behind the ivy trellis. She looks embarrassed to have interrupted you. She quickly curtsies and backs away. But not before you see it, how she stared at you. Not with awe, with analysis. Already she's learning. She's memorizing how you hold your chin, how your hands are never idle, how you keep your lips together in silence rather than let your jaw hang open. She's taking notes in her head, even if she doesn't know it yet. That's how it always begins. You were her once, watching, wondering, mimicking. You remember being told that ladies never slouch, never sweat, never scratch. That a woman of good breeding doesn't run, doesn't raise her voice, doesn't interrupt. That beauty is quiet. Beauty is still. Beauty is compliant. You believed it. You didn't know you were being taught to disappear. The bell in the distant chapel rings twice. You rise. There's embroidery to be done, a quiet hour of needle and thread. Not just for utility, it's a performance, too. Dainty hands, precise stitches, delicate silk, pulled through linen. It's not just what you make, it's how you make it. No pricked fingers, no stains, no wrinkles on the fabric or your brow. You sit with the others in the drawing room. Every girl bent over her hoop, each stitch a whispered prayer for approval. Lady Agnes hums softly. Lady Isolde clears her throat every so often, in that way that demands attention. You focus on your stitches, but your thoughts drift. What if you stitched what you really felt? Instead of roses and doves, you'd sew screaming mouths and tired eyes. Rows of corsets stitched so tightly they snap. Blood blooming like flowers across white linen from all the tiny sacrifices. Would anyone look? Would anyone dare admire it? You doubt it. Lady Eleanor breaks the silence with a tale. Did you hear about the girl in the north, the one with the golden hair down to her waist? The room murmurs. Of course they've heard. She's become a myth. Not because she did anything, just because she is something. A shape, a color, a figure. She was offered 5 marriage contracts, Eleanor says, and all she had to do was let her hair down at the window each evening. Men came from villages to watch her comb it. You can feel every girl in the room checking herself mentally, measuring her own strands. Long enough fooled. Enough straight enough hair is sacred here. A symbol, a snare. You recall the tincture you once used made from vinegar and crushed walnut shells. Promised to darken your strands without dye. It worked, but left a smell that lingered for days. Still, it was worth it. You remember someone calling your hair richer afterward. You clung to that word for weeks. Richer. As if your value had increased like coin. You glance across the room at Lady Margot. Her hair is braided high, but you can tell it's thinning. She's hiding it with ribbons and with distance, sitting farther from the light. The older girls always shift toward the shadows. That's the quiet truth. Beauty here has an expiration date, and everyone knows it. The younger ones get more compliments, more attention, more warnings too. You remember the first time someone told you to sleep on your back so your face wouldn't crease. That smile lines would harden. That furrows meant frowns, and frowns meant age, and age meant invisibility. So you trained your face to sleep soft, lips gently parted, eyebrows neutral, hands folded like a saint. You've been performing even in your dreams. The embroidery hour ends and you return to your room. The afternoon light makes the dust shimmer in the air. You close the shutters. Too much sun is dangerous. It darkens the skin, brings out the marks. In the half-light, you prepare the next part of your routine. A lemon rubbed under the arms. A vinegar-soaked cloth for the feet. You consider applying belladonna drops to your eyes again. Just a trace. Enough to widen the pupils to make them look dreamy. But it blurs your vision, and you're not sure you can handle that today. You skip it. Instead, you stare at yourself again. This time, you trace your collarbone with a bit of chalk. Just enough to catch the light. To look delicate. Breakable. That's the goal, isn't it? To appear so dainty, you must be cared for. So fragile, you need to be protected. And in that dependency, you are deemed valuable. The worst part is you've come to believe it. Somewhere along the line, you stopped questioning and started calculating. What angle makes your cheek look slimmer? What word makes your voice sound softer? What shade of blue draws the eye without seeming desperate? You've mastered it. But you're tired. Tired in a way you don't know how to name. A beauty tired. A kind of exhaustion that comes not from labor, but from constant restraint. Holding your stomach in. Holding your voice back. Holding yourself together. And tomorrow, you'll do it again. Because in this world, your reflection is your resume. Your face is your fate. And any flaw can cost you everything. The sun has begun its slow descent, slanting through the high windows in gold ribbons, catching the edges of polished goblets and silk sleeves. Evening means supper, and supper means scrutiny. You've changed again, new gown, this one embroidered with tiny silver beads, along the bodice carefully chosen to shimmer just enough in the candlelight. The maid dabbed perfume on your wrists and neck, an oil of violets mixed with crushed ambergris. It smells expensive, and that more than anything is what matters. You walk to the great hall with slow, measured steps, mindful of your posture. Your spine holds steady, your chin lifted just slightly. You've practiced this walk. Not too fast, not too slow. Float, don't stomp. Glide, don't saunter. The way you enter a room is as vital as the features on your face. A beautiful entrance suggests a beautiful life. At the table, everyone's already in place. You slide into your seat with grace, keeping your skirt folded perfectly across your lap. You greet those around you in soft, pleasant tones. You smile on cue. No tooth too exposed. No laugh too full. You've learned that even joy must be edited. The food is laid out trays of meat, small loaves, bowls of fruit preserved in honey. You reach for only the safest options. Too much meat stains the teeth. Too much fruit swells the belly. Bread makes your fingers swell if you're not careful. You chew, slowly count the motions. It's not just about eating, it's about eating well. Lady Eleanor bites into an apple slice and remarks, "I heard Lady Winifred was seen in public without powder." Gasps rise around the table, faint and disapproving. You nearly choke on your grape, then realize they're not joking. This is real offense. No veil, someone asks. None. Her cheeks were red, Eleanor says gravely, like reporting a crime. Red like she'd been walking. That's the death knell, isn't it? Evidence of motion, of life, of heat. It implies effort, and effort imply labor. A woman's beauty must never suggest she exerted herself to attain it. You must emerge already perfect, like a statue from marble, not the artist chiseling it into shape. You sip water and wonder what Winifred felt as she walked. Was she free for a moment? Unwatched, did she feel air on her face, or did the shame catch up before she reached the gate? Lady Isolde, ever composed, steers the conversation to fashion. Saffron is the color of the season, it seems, though not flattering on most. You nod thoughtfully, hiding the relief that your wardrobe contains nothing in saffron. Another moment of safety earned by accident. But even safety comes at a cost. You remember how long you spent choosing this evening's gown. The rejected options piled like bodies on your bed. Wrong cut, wrong sleeves, wrong message. That one makes your arms look soft. That one draws attention to your neck. That one's last season's lace pattern. You used to like that one. Now you wouldn't be caught dead in it. Your relationship with your reflection has become transactional. You give it time, pain, and obedience. It gives you a chance at survival. After supper, the nobles disperse. Some to the garden, others to the music room. You follow Lady Isolde to the solar, where women sit by the fire and trade stories, pattern secrets. The walls echo with whispers. My cousin sleeps with lemon slices over her cheeks, someone says. She swears it pulls the skin tighter. I tried that another woman offers. It just made me itch. You listen. You always listen. Because the rules change weekly. Today it's lemon. Last week it was rose oil and crushed pearls. You remember trying that mixture. It burned. You wore a veil for 3 days until the rash faded. Someone passes around a hand mirror, ivory inlaid with mother of pearl. Each girl takes a turn, pretending to check a curl or smudge. But you all know what you're really checking. That your eyes still sparkle. That your lashes still frame them like brush strokes. That your mouth still curves like it's meant to be kissed, but not too soon. That you still look like you deserve to be chosen. You take your turn and glance into the mirror. You barely recognize the face anymore, not because it's so changed, but because it's become so studied. There's no surprise in it, no wildness, just calculation. As if beauty is an equation, you're constantly solving. How much rouge is too much? Will this necklace make your neck look longer or shorter? What does your chin do when you laugh? The fire pops. Lady Eleanor sighs. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to be ugly. Everyone turns. She continues. I mean, free from all of this. She gestures vaguely to her gown, her hair the shimmering cage of it all. There's silence. Then Lady Margot snorts. Ugly girls don't get freedom. They get locked in convents. Or worse, married off to cruel old men. The silence deepens. You feel it settle into the cracks between the cushions into your chest. Because it's true. Here, ugliness is not freedom. It's exile. It's punishment. You can't not play the game. You can only lose it. Later in your chamber, you sit before the mirror again. Your maid begins to undo your hair, combing through it gently. You watch her fingers work nimble and practiced. She's always careful not to tug. You asked her once why. She said, because every strand counts. You believe her. She leaves and you're alone again. The room is quiet. Outside, an owl hoots once. You run your fingers along your jaw, feeling for the place where the skin folds slightly if you smile too wide. You avoid smiling too wide now. That's what lessons teach you here, not how to feel, but how to contain. You reach for the cloth and begin the process of erasing yourself for the night. Powder off, rouge gone, oils massaged in. The skin sighs beneath your fingers, grateful to breathe again. You look in the mirror. There you are, just you. And for one strange moment, you don't hate her. You're too tired to hate her. She looks human. And in this world, that's the most radical thing of all. The morning arrives with a dull gray sky, the kind that promises rain but never follows through. Your chamber smells faintly of lavender and old wood, and the ash in the fireplace has cooled to a soft, ghostly gray. You dress slowly today, not out of laziness, but because some part of you is resisting. A quiet rebellion so small it barely counts. You pause longer than usual before the mirror. Your hands hover over the powder, unsure. You could skip it, just once, but you don't, because someone might notice, and worse, someone might say something, so you follow the ritual again. Powder, rouged lips, a trace of dark wax on the lashes, the faintest shadow around your eyes, just enough to suggest mystery, not fatigue. Every product, every gesture is a lie that has become truth. You no longer know where you end and the enhancements begin. Downstairs, a painter has arrived. He's been commissioned to do a portrait of one of the visiting daughters, and the whole manor is abuzz. You pretend disinterest, but inside you're curious, terrified even. You've never sat for a portrait, though it's said to be an honor. Immortality through image. But you've also heard the warnings. Don't look directly at the artist. It widens the nose. Smile gently, but not with teeth. Tilt your head just enough to soften the chin. The painter is a quiet man with a long beard and ink-stained fingers. His clothes are modest, but his eyes are sharp. He sees too much. You watch from a distance as he studies Lady Isolde, his current subject. She sits stiffly, neck extended, eyes half-lidded like a sculpture. She looks serene, someone whispers. She looks uncomfortable, someone else counters. You see both. When he finishes, the painter steps back and gestures toward the canvas. Everyone gathers. There's a pause, a long breath, where all you hear is the shuffle of feet and the creak of the wooden floor. Then, how lovely she looks, so delicate. Like an angel. You peer closer. The portrait is beautiful, but it's not Isolde. Not really. It's a version of her. Smoother, purer. Lips a little fuller, neck a little longer. Even her skin has been painted with that impossible glow like candlelight on porcelain. You wonder if she sees it, if she recognizes the distance between herself and the woman in the frame. And then you wonder if you were painted, what parts of you would be erased, the scar on your temple from when you fell as a child, the mole on your left cheek, the slight shadow under your eyes from years of too tight corsets and never enough air. Would those things vanish? Would he smooth you into something else? Would you let him? You retreat to the garden for air. The roses are in bloom again, climbing the stone walls like a secret. You reach out and touch a petal. It's soft, velvety. Perfect. But you know the truth. You've seen the thorns beneath. Beauty here always hides a sharp edge. You sit on the stone bench, the cold seeping through your gown. The weight of the morning presses into your shoulders. You don't know when you started measuring your worth in glances and compliments. You only know that once the game began, you couldn't stop playing. A voice startles you. Lady Margot. She approaches slowly, folding her hands in front of her. She looks tired. Not just from age, though she's older than most here, but from years of performing the same rituals. You nod in greeting, expecting her usual commentary on someone's gown or complexion. But today she surprises you. I used to think if I was beautiful enough, she says quietly, I'd be safe. You blink, she sits beside you, eyes on the roses. But beauty doesn't keep you safe. It just gives people more reason to possess you. You don't know what to say. So you say nothing. She continues, voice low. When I married, I was considered the most beautiful girl in 3 counties. That's what they said. I wore pearl powder every day. I slept sitting up to keep my face smooth. I didn't laugh too hard, didn't eat too much, didn't tan in the sun. Her eyes glisten. And still She trails off. You understand without her finishing. I've spent years trying to stay beautiful enough to avoid being sent away. But now I think I'm just tired of disappearing into someone else's idea of me. The silence stretches. Then almost too softly to hear, she says, you don't have to keep doing it either. And just like that, she leaves. You sit there stunned. No one has ever said those words to you. Not your mother, not the maids, not the older girls or the young ones. You don't have to keep doing it. You don't believe her. Not yet. But you want to. That evening you attend supper like always. You wear the dress you planned. You fix your hair. You powder your cheeks. But something small has shifted. You skip the belladonna drops. You don't suck in your stomach when you sit. You let your smile widen just once, just for yourself. And when you catch your reflection in the silver goblet beside your plate, you see her again. The girl beneath the layers. Still here, still watching, still wondering what it would feel like to be enough as you are. That night you sleep uneasily. Not because of dreams, there are none, but because of the weight of awareness. Once a truth has been spoken, it doesn't go away. Lady Margot's words linger in your thoughts like incense clinging to silk. You don't have to keep doing it, but you do and you will. Because this world doesn't make space for unfinished faces or unpainted smiles. The next morning begins the same as always. The same damp cloth. The same chilled rose water. But when your fingers reach for the powder tin, they hesitate. The air feels heavy with choice. You sit there in front of your mirror and try to remember the first time you learned that your bare face wasn't enough. It was probably something small. A comment. A raised eyebrow. An instruction from someone older, more polished. Maybe it was the day your aunt said, "You look so much more ladylike with your hair pulled back." Or the way the other girls giggled when you had a sunburn. Or the way your mother covered your freckles with milk cream without asking. Little lessons. Dropped like crumbs. You followed them, and they led you here. Today, the manor prepares for guests. A neighboring family arrives, a mother-father, and their 2 sons. The eldest is rumored to be seeking a bride. You already know what that means. Every woman in this house becomes a display, a portrait in motion. The stakes are higher, the scrutiny sharper. Lady Isolde walks past your chamber before the midday bell, her gown a deep blue velvet cut to flatter her shoulders and draw the eye to her collarbone. She doesn't speak, just gives you a glance. Not unfriendly, but not kind. Calculating. You understand. She's tallying the competition. You choose your own gown carefully, a pale shade that complements your eyes. You tighten the bodice an extra notch. The discomfort feels familiar now, almost comforting, like armor. You dab lemon water on your temples to keep your skin taut. It stings, but you barely react. You've learned to hurt quietly. By the time you enter the Great Hall, your performance is flawless. The visiting family is seated near the hearth, their clothes richly adorned, but slightly mismatched, a sign that they're wealthy but not tasteful. The younger son, maybe 15, stares too openly. The elder son, however, barely looks at anyone. That's how you know he's important. He doesn't need to look. He knows he'll be looked at. You take your place at the table, your posture perfect. The conversation begins slowly, formal greetings, dull observations about the weather. You nod and smile in the right places. You keep your hands folded just so. You feel yourself slip into the version of you they expect. It's not unpleasant. It's just hollow. The elder son eventually speaks to you. His voice is low, thoughtful. He asks where you learned your embroidery. You give the answer you've rehearsed. Your tutor. Years of practice. Your favorite patterns. He seems pleased. But his next question surprises you. What do you do when you're not being looked at? The words land like a pebble in still water. You blink because you don't know. Not because you don't do anything, but because no one's ever asked. Your life is composed of being seen, prepared to be seen, recovering from being seen. You don't know who you are without an audience. You offer a vague smile. I read. It's true. But it's not the whole truth. You read stories of distant lands, of women who climb trees and swim across rivers, of girls who dress as boys and run away. You read them late at night, long after the candles should be snuffed. You hold your breath at every forbidden adventure. You never imagine yourself in them. Not really. But you crave the idea of it. He nods, doesn't press further. That night the manor buzzes with murmurs. Who spoke to whom? Who laughed at whose joke? Whose hand lingered on whose sleeve? Every glance becomes prophecy. Every smile a contract. You say little. You listen. Lady Eleanor leans in during dessert. He looked at you twice, you shrug. She frowns. Don't be foolish. That matters. You nod because she's right. It does matter. It could mean a proposal, a future, a change in station. It could mean safety. But you can't stop hearing his question. What do you do when you're not being looked at? In the quiet of your chamber, you sit before the mirror again. You should be removing your makeup, preparing for sleep. But instead, you stare at yourself. You whisper the question aloud. What do? You remember the time you hid behind the stables and watched the stars until morning. The way the cold made your eyes water. The way no one knew where you were. You hadn't worn powder that night. You'd laughed aloud. You'd been you. You remember running barefoot through the corridor once before you knew better. How free it felt. How wild. How ugly. How alive. Maybe that's the real fear, not ugliness, but aliveness. Because once you feel it, you might never want to return to the performance. You press your fingers to your cheek. The powder smears. You wipe it away slowly, not out of duty, but out of curiosity. You want to see what's underneath. And there you are, eyes wide, skin flushed, mouth soft, tired, honest. You don't smile, but you don't look away either. The days blur after that. The visiting family stays longer than expected, 4 days, then 5. Each day becomes a stage, each hour a scene. And you, one of many actresses, must perform the same role with variations so subtle they ache. Today, a demure smile. Tomorrow, a curious gaze. The day after, a quiet giggle behind a gloved hand. All meant to attract, but not too eagerly. That would ruin the illusion of being chosen. You notice things now, small cracks in the pageantry. The way Lady Isolde's lips twitch when she forces a laugh. How Lady Eleanor stares too long into her mirror after every social gathering. You see the way their fingers clench the arms of chairs when no one is watching. You see yourself in them. You see your future. This morning, the hall is prepared for a music recital. You've been instructed to play the lute. You've practiced for years, not because you love it, but because beauty is not just appearance, it's refinement. Skill is expected, but only the kind that entertains. You know how to sew, sing, play, pour tea, curtsy, converse. You are an artist, but only of small, pretty things. As you take your seat before the assembled guests, the pressure returns heavier than the instrument in your lap. You smile, arrange your skirts, position your fingers. The first notes echo softly through the hall. You play well, of course you do, but your mind drifts. What if you played the wrong note on purpose? What if you dropped the lute and walked away? You never would. But still, you imagine it. When your song ends, there's polite applause, smiles, murmurs of praise. You bow your head with gratitude. Inside, you feel nothing. It wasn't music, it was survival. Every note, another rung in the invisible ladder you climb, one that never seems to reach a landing. Later, as the guests wander the gardens, the elder son finds you by the stone sundial. His presence is careful, deliberate. You offer the standard greetings, the well-practiced lines, but he doesn't respond with flattery or flirtation. Instead, he asks, "Do you enjoy it?" You blink. Enjoy what? All of this. You don't answer right away. "I don't know," you admit. He nods slowly as if he expected that. Then, you seem different. Your breath catches. Different can be dangerous. Different means noticeable. And women who are noticed for the wrong reasons disappear quickly, sent off, married off, whispered about. But part of you is glad he said it. You don't ask him what he means. You're afraid of the answer. Instead, you change the subject, ask him about falconry. He smiles. The moment passes. That evening, you retreat early. You tell your maid you have a headache. It's a lie. You just want to be alone with your thoughts. You lie on the bed fully dressed, staring at the carved canopy overhead. The pattern of vines and blossoms feels too perfect, too planned, like everything in this life. You remember your reflection again, the way it looked with the powder wiped clean. You remember Lady Margot's voice, soft and weary. You don't have to keep doing it. You wonder if anyone ever really stops. Your thoughts are interrupted by a soft knock at the door. It's your maid back with a note. From him, not love poetry, not flirtation, just a single line scribbled in a hand, too neat to be impulsive. Would you still be you if no one was watching? You stare at it for a long time. You think about your answer. You don't have one. You sleep restlessly, turning the words over in your mind like a pearl that won't stop rolling. By morning, you've memorized them. The next day, the painter begins a new commission. Lady Eleanor this time. She sits with her back rigid, lips drawn tight. She's trying to hold the perfect pose. Everyone watches from the corners, pretending not to. The room is thick with envy and fear. You stand in the doorway unnoticed. The painter catches your eye. You look away. You think about what he sees, what he really sees. You wonder what it would feel like to be painted honestly. No edits, no flourishes. Just you. The girl who laughs too loudly when she forgets herself. The girl who cries over old books. The girl who sometimes wishes to smear dirt on her face just to see what it feels like. Would anyone want that painting? Would you step back from the door and return to your chamber. You open the wardrobe. Row after row of gowns. So many colors, cuts, fabrics. All of them chosen for how they sculpt your silhouette, how they speak without words. You run your hand along the fabric, and you choose the simplest dress. No embellishments, no embroidery, just plain soft wool. When you appear at supper, the room pauses. Not because you look disheveled, not because you look inappropriate, but because you look like yourself, and no one recognizes you. Lady Isolde raises a brow. Lady Margot looks at you with something between surprise and respect. The elder son watches, and you feel the weight of his gaze. You sit, you eat, you speak, and for the first time in a long while, you don't perform. You exist. It's terrifying, but it's also just a little freeing. The silence after supper is different this evening, heavier, not awkward but charged. You feel it in the way no one quite meets your eyes, in the way your simplest dress, your quiet refusal echoes louder than any jeweled collar or laced corset. You didn't mean to make a statement, and yet you did. Lady Eleanor breaks first. It's understated, she says, fingering the sleeve of her own gown with sudden insecurity. You smile gently. It's comfortable. Lady Isolde makes a sound somewhere between a scoff and a sigh. Comfort has never been the point. She's right, of course. Comfort is a luxury for men. For women, especially beautiful ones, it's a threat. Comfort suggests confidence. Confidence implies control. And control in a woman is unnerving. You excuse yourself early and walk alone through the side corridor, the one lined with tapestries. You trace the embroidered patterns absently hunting scenes, saints' heraldry the usual. But tonight, you notice the women. The tiny figures woven into the corners, always demure, always poised. Hands folded, eyes lowered. Frozen in beauty without voice or story. You reach the chapel where the doors stand ajar. It's quiet, dim. Only a few candles flicker along the walls. You sit in the last pew listening to the crackling wax. And there it is again, that echo in your chest, that question. Would you still be you if no one was watching? You wonder if God is watching, if he sees past the powder, the gowns, the forced smiles, if he recognizes you under the layers, or if even he prefers the painted version. You lean your head back and close your eyes. You remember the story of Saint Agnes praised for her purity, her beauty. She was martyred, they said, because men desired her, and she refused them. And even in death, her face remained serene, untouched. You used to envy her. Now you wonder if she ever wanted to scream. Back in your chamber, your maid waits eyes wide with worry. She doesn't speak, but you can feel it. She's afraid you've done something dangerous, that your plain dress will be interpreted as defiance. She lays out tomorrow's gown, something more appropriate. You nod your thanks, though you don't say whether you'll wear it. You sit at the vanity as she begins unpinning your hair. Your reflection watches her hands move. Do you think I'm beautiful, you ask? She hesitates just for a second. Yes, my lady, but if I wasn't you press, would I still matter? She blinks. To whom you don't answer, because you don't know. After she leaves, you wash your face slowly. No urgency, no ritual, just the warm cloth, the quiet water. When you're done, you don't reach for the oils or the powders. You leave the mirror bare, the skin untouched. You stare into your own eyes. You look unfinished, but not unworthy. You climb into bed and stare at the canopy again. This time you imagine painting it differently. Vines still but tangled. Blossoms, yes, but blooming wildly in all directions, not neatly traced. Imperfect. Alive. The next morning, the manor is stirring earlier than usual. A messenger has arrived. You overhear talk of a tournament. The men will ride out. The women will watch from the stands. It's expected. It's a spectacle. It's a stage. You prepare slowly. The gown your maid laid out still waits pristine, heavy with embroidery. Instead, you choose the same simple one from the night before. You pull your hair back plainly with only a ribbon, no jewels, no powder. This time you do it not out of curiosity, but out of decision. You arrive in the stands with the others taking your place among the noble women. Murmurs ripple through the rows. She wore it again. No paint even now, bold. Foolish. The elder son arrives on horseback, his armor catching the sunlight. The crowd cheers. He does not look for you, but you feel he sees you, even from across the lists, even through the helmets and the ceremony. You sit taller, not to be admired, but to claim space. As the trumpets sound and the jousting begins, you notice how everyone leans forward wide-eyed, breathless. The violence of it so openly adored. The blood, the danger, the break of wood and bone. All of it praised. And yet you, scraping a brow, skipping rouge, are considered reckless. That thought makes you laugh quietly. Lady Isolde shoots you a glance. What's funny? You turn to her, just realizing how much is tolerated here and how little is allowed. She says nothing. After the final match, there's a gathering in the outer courtyard. Wine, music, applause. You feel the elder son's eyes again before you see him. He approaches with a cup of cider and offers it without ceremony. "You didn't cheer," he says. "I'm not fond of violence." He grins. Even when it's for glory, especially then. He watches you for a long moment. Not your gown, not your hair. You. And that unsettles you more than you expected. "You don't play the part anymore," he says. "Not today. And tomorrow you shrug. We'll see." You part without promises. But something lingers between you unspoken. Recognition, maybe. Not love. Not yet. But the acknowledgement that he sees what others don't or chooses to. And for once, you're not afraid of being seen. That night alone in your chamber, you write the question on a piece of parchment and place it beside your mirror. Would you still be you if no one was watching? You read it once more before blowing out the candle. The parchment stays beside your mirror for days. Sometimes you forget it's there until your eyes drift toward it during your morning routine. Other times you catch your reflection mid-motion powder puff suspended and pause just long enough to feel like you're trespassing into your own life. The words haunt you, but not in a cruel way. They sit like a stone in your shoe, a small discomfort that keeps you aware of every step. The other women have noticed your shift. Lady Eleanor tries to ignore it, but her glances linger longer now as if trying to decode the riddle you've become. Lady Isolde makes pointed comments in passing, always too polite to be called an insult, always sharp enough to draw blood. "Plain is a bold aesthetic," she says one morning, her eyes never leaving her own reflection. "It requires nerve." You smile but don't respond. You're learning the power of silence, how a quiet defiance can echo louder than shouted rebellion. Still, the pressure builds. One morning you find a gift left outside your chamber door. A small parcel wrapped in silk. Inside, a delicate bottle of imported scent. Orange blossom and myrrh. Expensive, luxurious, intentional, no note. But you know who it's from. You place it on your shelf unopened. Not because you're ungrateful, but because you're unsure. Of him, of yourself, of what he sees. Is it admiration, curiosity, a test, or something more complex, an offering made not to woo but to correct? You leave the bottle untouched. The next few days pass like drifting clouds, soft and repetitive. Meals, music, courtyard walks, needlework. You participate, but without urgency. You still play the part, but only in fragments. Enough to stay visible, not enough to stay obedient. Then comes the summons. You're called to the solar one afternoon. Not unusual, but something in the messenger's face tells you this is different. Inside, Lady Margot waits, alone. Her posture is less composed than usual. Her fingers tap the arm of her chair in a restless rhythm. You close the door quietly behind you. "I wanted to speak with you," she says. Alone. You nod, waiting. She doesn't speak right away, just studies you. Her eyes trace your face, your dress, your hands, and then she says simply, "You're making them nervous." You raise an eyebrow. "Who?" She gives a tired smile. "Everyone, but mostly the mothers, the daughters too. You've disrupted the balance." "I didn't mean to. Doesn't matter." She leans forward slightly. "You see, there's a system here, invisible but precise. The gowns, the glances, the lace and laughter. Everyone plays the part. But when one of us stops following the rules, the illusion begins to unravel. You swallow. Why are you telling me this? Because I once did the same. Her voice is low. Years ago, I stopped painting my lips. I let my hair gray. I spoke plainly. For a moment, I believed I could live outside the script. She pauses. It didn't end well. You're quiet. She softens. But I survived. And I see something in you, something I wish I had protected in myself. You're not like them, not fully. But if you want to stay, you'll need to decide what you're willing to lose. You nod slowly. Thank you. She stands smoothing her skirts. The ones who try to live honestly here don't usually last. But they're the ones I remember. You leave the solar in a daze. Outside, the air is crisp. The late afternoon sun slants through the windows like judgment. You walk the length of the corridor, passing faces that no longer feel like peers. Each one perfect, polished, and faintly afraid. And you wonder, when did fear become the foundation of beauty? That evening, there's a dinner. Formal. A celebration of the season's close. Everyone is in their finest. The elder son is seated 2 places down from you, and for once he says nothing, just watches. You wear the saffron gown, not because it flatters you, it doesn't, but because it was the one everyone expected you to avoid. It's bold, brash, difficult. It does nothing to slim your figure or highlight your eyes. It's real fabric, not illusion. You wear it like a dare. The room reacts, not openly, but you feel it in the stillness, the way conversations falter, the way glances collide and slide away. You eat slowly, smile once or twice, say little. The elder son lifts his glass at one point and says, "To honesty, it's not a toast, just a whisper, but you hear it." That night you sit by the window in your chamber legs tucked beneath you. The candle flickers. The parchment still rests by your mirror. Would you still be you if no one was watching? You think about all the ways you've been watched, measured, ranked, how your value was never separate from your appearance, how love was offered only to the well-arranged. You think about the cost of changing and the cost of staying the same. And you wonder, not for the first time, if beauty as it's defined here is just another prison with prettier bars. Outside, the wind rises, and for a moment you close your eyes and imagine it lifting you away, not into a fairy tale, but into something honest. The wind continues into morning, steady and strong. It rattles the windows and stirs the ivy on the outer walls. You wake to its presence as if it has something to say. Your chamber feels colder than usual, or perhaps you're just more aware now of everything. The chill in your bones, the weight of your gown, the stillness in your own heart. You don't rise right away. You lie there staring at the wooden canopy, at the way the early light cuts across it in jagged lines. You think of your childhood before mirrors meant anything, before beauty became a chore. You think of the way you used to run, wild-haired and flushed, before someone handed you a brush and said, "Tidy yourself. You're not presentable." Presentable. The word still makes you flinch. You finally rise slowly. The maid enters as she always does, but today you wave her off. "Not yet," you murmur. You dress yourself, not out of rebellion, but out of want. Wanting to remember how your fingers move when not arranging someone else's fantasy. You choose a dress that fits, not one that flatters. You braid your hair simply. No powder, no scent. no polish. Your reflection startles you. You don't look tired. You don't look dull. You look real. There's a letter waiting for you downstairs, sealed with wax bearing the crest of the visiting family. Your stomach tightens as you crack it open. It's a proposal, not quite formal, not quite vague. A suggestion of alliance, of a future. From him, the elder son. You read the words twice, then again. They're well written, modest, respectful, the kind of letter a woman is supposed to dream of. And yet, it's not the letter that leaves you breathless. It's the line near the end, "I would like to know you even if no one else approves." You fold the parchment carefully. You don't answer right away. There's no rush. For once, you get to decide the timing. The news spreads quickly. Of course it does. By the next afternoon, Lady Eleanor corners you in the corridor. "He wrote to you," she says flatly. You nod. "He never even looked at me." You're not sure what to say. "Is it because you're different now?" she asks, eyes narrowing. "Because you stopped trying?" You pause. "No," you say softly. "It's because I stopped pretending." She blinks stunned into silence. You walk away, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. You're learning now that honesty makes people uncomfortable, especially in a world built on illusions. Lady Margot finds you later in the garden. She walks with a cane today. Her steps are slower. She joins you at the fountain, her hands tucked into long sleeves. I heard she says without preamble. You nod. I hope she continues that if you accept him, you'll keep what makes you different, that you won't become like the rest. You look at her, and if I don't accept, she smiles, then you've already won. You both sit in silence for a long while. The wind rustles the trees. The water in the fountain trickles softly, endlessly. That evening you go to the chapel alone. The air inside is cool and still. You sit in the front pew this time. No hiding. You pray not for answers, but for clarity, for the strength to keep listening to the voice inside you, the one that's been whispering all along, but only now dares to speak. When you return to your chamber, the candle is already lit. The parchment is gone. In its place, your own handwriting, fresh and sure I would still be me. But I'm ready to be more. You sleep that night without paint or powder or pretense. You sleep as yourself. And for the first time in years, you dream. Not of weddings, not of gowns, but of wind and sky and breathless barefoot freedom. You rise before dawn not because you must, but because you want to. The chamber is dim, filled with the soft blue of approaching day. For once, it's not the weight of duty that wakes you, but the lightness of decision. Today, no one has summoned you. No list of tasks, no choreographed scenes to rehearse. It's your own breath, calm, and even that carries you into morning. You reach for your robe and wrap it around your shoulders, still warm from your bed. You cross the room and open the shutters. The garden below is misted in silver, and the air smells faintly of earth and rosemary. The world is quiet, and you are too. You sit by the window, arms folded around your knees. For a long moment, you just watch the wind move through the hedges. Nothing about you is prepared, and still you feel present, whole. You wonder how long it's been since you felt that. The parchment lies beside your mirror, the words still crisp, I would still be me. But I'm ready to be more. You read it aloud, this time softly, just to hear it in your own voice. It feels right, not finished, not perfect, but honest. You fold it again and tuck it into your keepsake box, along with the childhood trinkets you once thought you'd outgrown: an old ribbon, a pebble from the riverbank, the torn edge of a storybook page. Symbols of a girl before the mirror became a master. You don't rush into the day. You wash slowly, comb your hair gently. No corset today, no veil. A dress of soft linen, one you haven't worn in ages. It's not fashionable, but it lets your body breathe. You look at yourself once before leaving the room, and you nod. That morning, the manor is stirring with gentle chaos. The visiting family prepares to depart. Servants haul trunks. Horses snort and stomp in the gravel. The women cluster near the entry hall, fluttering like ribbons in a breeze, all careful smiles and clasped hands. You stand apart, watching. He sees you before you step forward. His expression is unreadable at first, but when he meets your eyes, it softens. You both move toward one another, not quickly, not dramatically, just steadily, like you've been approaching this moment for days. He bows slightly. I'll wait for your answer. You nod. You'll have it soon. He doesn't press. That too is a kind of gift. And just like that, he mounts his horse and disappears down the path, the silver crest on his cloak catching the sun. The dust rises behind him like a sigh. Later in the garden, Lady Margot finds you again. She carries a small bundle wrapped in cloth. She hands it to you without ceremony. Inside is a comb ivory plain, well worn. It was mine, she says, before all this. You run your fingers along its teeth. Why are you giving it to me? Because you'll remember how to use it, she says, without wounding yourself. You nod. The gesture means more than the object. In the days that follow, the manor begins to quiet. The guests are gone. The gowns are returned to their closets. The whispers soften. But something has shifted permanently. You can feel it in the way others look at you now, not as a rival or an ideal, but as a question they're afraid to ask. Lady Isolde avoids your gaze. Lady Eleanor grows quieter. Even the younger girls begin to observe you with something like confusion and curiosity. They've been taught only one way to be seen. You've shown them a different shape. You spend more time outdoors now. You walk without gloves. You laugh when the wind tangles your hair. You read under the sycamore and let the sun mark your skin. You stop counting your freckles. You stop counting your steps. One afternoon, a mirror breaks. A servant drops it an accident. Shards scatter across the flagstones. There's a moment of panic, shouted apologies, scrambling hands. You watch from the corridor, then step forward and kneel among the glass. Your own reflection blinks back at you from a dozen broken pieces, mouths parted, eyes half caught. None of them complete. And still, they are all you, not flawless, but real. You rise and walk away without taking a single shard, because you no longer need mirrors to tell you who you are. The weather shifts. The warmth of late spring has folded into the crisp cool of early autumn. The wind carries new scents, damp leaves, wood smoke ripe apples from the orchard. In the manor, the light angles differently now, casting long shadows through the corridors. It makes the place feel older, quieter, like it's waiting for something to happen. So are you. You don't speak of the letter. Not yet. The parchment remains folded in the drawer beneath your writing table, weighed down by a stone from the garden path. Every day you open the drawer. Every day you close it again. Not out of indecision, but out of care. You're not choosing whether to answer him. You're choosing whether to bring your whole self into the answer. You take your time. That choice alone feels revolutionary. One afternoon, you visit the laundry quarters. You've never had reason to, not really. But today, something pulls you there. The workers glance up in surprise, unsure what to make of your presence. You smile and ask to help fold. They laugh at first lightly, kindly, but then they let you. The linens are warm from the sun. The smell of soap and grass clings to them. You sit beside a girl not much younger than you and mimic her folding style. It's soothing, rhythmic. You feel your shoulders relax. "Why are you here?" she finally asks. You pause. "I wanted to remember what fabric feels like when it's not laced to bruise." She stares, then nods. You both continue in silence. You carry that warmth with you into the rest of your day. You skip supper in the great hall and eat instead in the kitchen, perched on a stool with the scullery girls. They chatter freely, unfiltered. You laugh without monitoring your face. No one judges the creases by your eyes. No one counts your bites. You sleep that night without oils or rituals. Your hair loose. Your hands stained faintly with rosemary and flour. You dream of oceans. In the morning, you visit the painter. He's still here preparing for his departure. His things are packed brushes, wrapped canvases, dried. You find him in the east wing examining a piece in the morning light. "I want you to paint me," you say. He lifts his eyes. "Like the others." "No," you say. "As I am." He studies you. No powder, no powder, no corset. You shake your head. No lace, you smile. "Just me." He nods slowly. "Then sit." You do, there's no mirror. You don't need one. He begins sketching the charcoal moving across the canvas with quiet certainty. You sit still, hands folded loosely, spine natural, face relaxed. You breathe in, out. You feel naked though you're fully clothed, exposed in a new way. But it doesn't scare you, not today. He paints quickly, layering light and color with practiced ease. He doesn't flatter. He doesn't correct. He captures. That's all. And for the first time, you realize how few people in your life have ever seen you without trying to fix you. When he finishes, he turns the canvas around. And there she is. You. Not idealized. Not altered. But alive. With tired eyes and a soft smile, a crease at the brow, a stray hair near the temple, the faint shadow of a scar that no one ever bothers to ask about. And yet it's beautiful, not because it adheres to the rules, but because it defies them. You thank him. He nods. Neither of you says much more. That night, you write your response. You sit at your desk, fingers poised above the parchment. The candle burns low beside you. The house is silent. You don't write poetry. You don't flatter. You write the truth. You ask me who I am when no one is watching. I am quiet, but not small. I am thoughtful, but not afraid. I laugh too loud sometimes, eat too fast. I bruise easily, but I heal stronger. If you want to know me, this is who I am. And I would rather be chosen for my honesty than loved for my disguise. You seal the letter with your ring and press it closed. You don't wait for the morning. You send it that night. You don't expect an answer the next day. but it comes. Just after breakfast, a rider arrives, mud-caked high on his boots, the seal on the envelope still warm from the press. Your name is etched in a familiar hand, careful but without flourish. You take it silently and retreat into your chamber, heart trembling like a taut string. You close the door. You break the wax. Inside, only a few lines. Thank you for showing me who you are. I do not need perfection. I only need the truth. If you still wish it, I would be honored to build a life with someone who has chosen herself first. You sit with the letter in your lap, staring at it for a long while. No dizzying poetry, no gilded flattery, just quiet reverence. It is perhaps the first time anyone has offered you love without condition, not for your beauty, not for your posture, not for your family name, but for your truth. You breathe out slowly, and for the first time in your memory, the breath isn't followed by performance. No straightening of the spine, no smoothing of your skirts, just stillness. The choice now is yours, fully. You walk the grounds alone that day, winding through the herb garden, the orchard, the sloping field near the southern gate. You run your fingers through lavender stalks and let the pollen cling to your skin. You let the sun warm your bare face. You remember how it felt to be a child, not unaware of beauty, but unburdened by it. You think of the first time someone called you pretty and how that word became a collar. You remember chasing it for years, unsure whether it was a gift or a leash. Now you know. Beauty, at least the way they've defined it, was never meant to empower you. It was meant to contain you, and you have outgrown the container. You return to the manor in the golden light of afternoon. You pack slowly. Not everything, just enough. A few simple dresses. The ivory comb from Lady Margot. The comb belongs in hair that moves freely. You wrap your journal, your pen. The painting, the real one, you leave behind, hanging in the east wing, where others might see it and wonder. You don't dress in silk for your departure. You wear linen, and you walk no fanfare, no procession. You slip through the south gate and take the lower path where the moss grows thick and the air smells of pine. The road is long, but it does not frighten you. Every step forward feels like shedding another layer, not of clothing, of expectation. The manor falls behind you, the weight of it too, all the mirrors, all the measuring eyes, all the performances. You do not need them. You reach the river by dusk. He waits there just as he promised. No horse, no servants, just him sitting beneath the twisted ash tree legs, crossed eyes searching the horizon. He sees you before you speak. You don't rush. You walk up to him slowly, feet crunching on dry leaves. He stands. You say nothing. Neither does he. Instead, he offers his hand, not as a command, as an invitation. You take it. Together you turn toward the forest path. The light fades. The stars begin to blink into view. The world grows wide again, full of sounds you had forgotten: frogs, owls, the wind against bark. Nothing about it is curated. Nothing asks you to be anything but here, beside him, and wholly yourself. Behind you, the last tendrils of your old life unravel. Ahead, something unknown. But this time you are not afraid of being unknown too. You are no longer a mask, no longer a mirror. You are becoming, not beautiful, free. The days that follow are quieter, simpler. Not because they lack meaning, but because meaning is no longer bound to performance. There are no silver mirrors here, no powdered wigs, no ribbons knotted just so, no sharp-breathed whispers echoing down corridors lined with portraits of unflinching women. Out here, beauty isn't a blade, it's breath. You wake each morning to birdsong instead of bells. There's no maid to draw your curtains, no corset waiting on a hook. Instead, there's soft light spilling through branches, a kettle steaming over a low fire, and the gentle ache in your limbs from walking miles the day before. You wear your own skin now unpainted and uncorrected, and for the first time you believe it's enough. He doesn't expect perfection. He doesn't praise your appearance like currency. Instead, he asks what you've read, what you dreamt, what you remember. You tell him stories from the manor, the ridiculous things, the painful things. He listens. Not the way nobles listen impatient and waiting for an opening, but truly listens as if each word you speak draws a map to who you are. You work side by side now. Sometimes he carves, sometimes you write. You help plant herbs in neat rows just for the pleasure of watching something grow. Your hands are no longer smooth. There's dirt beneath your fingernails, ink stains on your fingers, calluses forming where your pen rests. But you don't hide them. These marks do not mar your value, they prove it. There's laughter, too. Not the delicate kind, trained and measured. Real laughter. The kind that tilts your head back and makes you snort and forget to cover your mouth. You laugh at nothing sometimes, just the absurdity of all you used to be, how you once feared a freckle, how you once counted calories like sins. In the evenings you bathe by moonlight, the water cold and clean. You let your hair float around you like a crown made of memory. You no longer pluck it to shape your forehead. You no longer bind it to look fragile. It curls where it pleases, sometimes wild, sometimes soft, but always yours. And when you lie beside him, it is not as a prize or a portrait. It is as a person. There is still pain. There are days you miss the comfort of ritual, the quiet pride of a gown well chosen. Sometimes you catch your reflection in a stream and feel a twinge of doubt. But it passes, because you remember the price of beauty in the world you left. And you know that this version of yourself, the unhidden, unashamed, unpolished version, is the one you fought to become. You do not regret the war. Sometimes you write. You begin drafting a small book, a quiet thing for yourself. You call it The Mirror's Weight. In it, you recount the truths you were never meant to say aloud. The bruises hidden under brocade. The girls who vanished beneath gowns. The whispered terror of being past your prime at 20. You write it not to expose, but to remember. You want no girl to inherit silence the way you did. One night you sit by the fire journal open and reread your first entry, Would I Still Be Me if no one was watching? You smile, because now the answer is yes, and more. You have become the version of yourself that doesn't fear change, the version who walks without apology, who builds without mirrors, who does not need to be seen to matter, because now you see yourself, and that is enough. So now, as the fire crackles low and your eyes begin to feel heavy, let yourself rest in this quieter truth. You don't need to hold in your breath or hold up your posture. You don't need to wait for the approval of others to decide you are already enough. You've spent long enough in lace and lead and longing. Let it fall away. Breathe in, deep and easy, like the air out there in the forest, crisp and clean. Let your chest rise, not in pride, but in peace. Let your shoulders drop soft and warm under the blankets. You're safe now. No eyes watching. No mirrors judging. The girl in the story has left the manor behind. But more importantly, she left behind the belief that her value depended on how quietly she could suffer. And so can you. Wherever you are tonight, whether on a mattress too soft or a cot too hard, whether alone or held, know this: your worth was never in the powder, the paint, the polish. It was always in the breath you held, the questions you asked, the voice you hushed, and now in the voice you let speak freely. There's nothing left to prove, nothing left to perform. Just rest. You are whole. You are seen. You are free.